Alright, so cool. This actually does work. I went to Home Depot. Even though I have the switch that I want to use coming tomorrow, I went and picked up one of these little single pole double throw switches from Home Depot, wired up to the three little pins that are on that board where this little jumper would normally be. Either the jumper's jumping on the middle pin and the outside pin, or the middle pin and this pin. And that's just a switch between, are you going to use the onboard potentiometer for control, or are you going to use the VI terminal for an external voltage source to control the speed. So right now, with the switch in the middle position, it is basically acting like that jumper's not there. This drive has no idea what to do. It won't run, it won't do anything, because the jumper's gone basically with it in this position. So if I switch it over to this way, is going to be like if I was switching it into manual control. And you can see that I do indeed have the ability to run the drive manually by myself from here. Now, what I'm going to do, and this is also kind of nifty, is this is almost like an e-stop, because you can just stop the drive by basically emulating you removing that jumper. Okay. Now, if I switch this switch over to the auto mode, where it's being controlled by an external voltage source, you'll see it's not doing anything right now, and the potentiometer is not active. You can't do anything. Press run, it's not. It needs its run signal from an external source. So I'm going to actually show you something else. These are the two pins you would use to hook up to the Carbide board. The ACM, which would be a ground, and then the VI would be the PWM terminal. So I have a 18650 battery, which is normally like 3.7 volts, and I'm going to touch it to, this is kind of hard to do with one finger here, and then I'm going to touch it, so nothing going on, and I'm going to touch it. It's getting a run command via whatever voltage is being sent to this thing, is whatever speed it's going to run at. So for instance, the input to control this drive from the Carbide board is 0 to 5 volts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give this thing a straight 5 volts, which should be max speed 24,000 RPM. And there's a 5 volt output right there on the drive. There you go. So pretty cool. Now the only downside to this is if you, well, it's not a downside, it's actually really simple. Something I kind of found out. So let me switch this back to the hand mode or manual mode, and if I press, I won't do it, but if I press stop, well, I'll do it. If I press the stop button, the drive will stop, but the circuit, the latched circuit between here ends up opening, and you basically have to reset this wire. which would be really simple if you were to just wire it through like a momentary push, or not a momentary, but a latching push button switch. That way you could break the circuit, then remake the circuit, and the drive will come back on. Let me see if I can do this with one hand. I might be able to just loosen this wire and get it to... Yep. So if I take it out and put it back, it's good to go now. And then, just like before, I can turn it off via this switch. Another thing you could do actually too is this middle wire here that goes into the middle pin where that jumper is. You could actually wire an e-stop to that instead, or wire an e-stop to that, and then the drive won't restart. Like if you just happen to be, if you happen to have it in the manual mode and you reconnected that wire, that forward wire, after pressing stop, this drive's going to come back on. Let me simulate that again. This drive's going to come back on and go and just rev straight back up to 24,000 RPM. But if you have that e-stop depressed, it's not gonna do that. It's not gonna, because even though you've just reset this, it's not gonna ramp up to 24,000 RPM because you still have this circuit right here broken. So it's kind of like a safety measure, and not until you remake this circuit will, so let's say not until you remake this circuit will the drive come back on and run at whatever the previous speed was that you had set on the... I hope you understand that. But anyhow, so my theory that will work. There's just a couple more steps that I didn't see, like having to reset this to get the drive to start back up in auto mode. Yep. All right.